Okay, so I'm going to go through here how to put together a strength program. So when we're designing a program, we have to look at the principles of training. So I have the principles of training laid out here in this box. So the main principles are specificity, progressive overload, reversibility, tedium, warming up and cooling down, and rest and recovery. When I'm designing the program, I need to try and take into consideration as many of these principles as possible. So I'm just going to go through how I'm using these principles when I'm designing the program. So the first one is specificity. So specificity relates to specific exercises based on what your goal is. So if I'm focusing on increasing my 1 rep max in a squat, well then there's no point in me doing a bench press or press ups or bicep curls. The program should be focused on what are the best exercises for me to perform in order to increase my 1 rep max in the squat. I don't just make up these exercises. So what you should do is you should go and research it. Go and Google what are the best exercises to increase lower body strength, and then pick some of the exercises from whatever you find. Okay? In relation to specificity, once you have your exercises picked, then you need to pick the weight that you should be lifting and how many times you should be lifting it. Again, you don't just pick random weights. You should go and research it, find out what weight you should be lifting or what percentage of your 1 rep max and how many times you should be lifting it. And when you do this, you should keep track of whatever website you find this on and include it in your references. Again, we can just Google. So if I go here, so what percentage of 1 rep max should I be working at? I get a number of different websites. Okay. Here we have a 1 rep max calculator, again from bodybuilding.com. I have strengthlevel.com, but I'm going to go to this one, so the NSCA training load chart. The reason why I'm going to this one is because this is a strength and conditioning website with a lot of research behind it. So there's a lot more clarity behind the results that they've given us. So here I find a training load chart. Okay, and here on the left it has 1 rep max load, and it gives me the percentage then and what I should be working at. Okay, this is in pounds, but it doesn't really make any difference because once we have it in pounds, it's the same percentage once you convert it to kg. So my 1 rep max for the squat is 90 kg. So if I am to train for strength, if I was to do 2 reps, I should be lifting 85.5, 3 reps 83.7, 4 reps 81, and 5 reps 78.3. Okay, so if I'm developing a strength program, I should be lifting at close to 78.3 kg for 5 repetitions. Okay, and that's how I get that figure and how I include it in my program. The second thing then is progressively overload. So the program should include progressions from week 1 to week 6. It doesn't have to be every week, but it should be at least in 2-week blocks minimum. Okay, increases in weights, possibly a variation of repetitions, but still keeping it within the training zone. Okay, so if I'm training for strength, it should be somewhere between 3 to 6 reps. So I don't want to go to 8 or 9 reps or even down to 1 rep. I want to try and keep it in that zone. Okay, next one is reversibility. So how often am I going to train? Okay, this shouldn't be a problem, but we can include in the program somewhere how frequently we're going to train, just so we're addressing that principle. Fourth one is tedium. Again, it shouldn't be a problem when we're training for 6 weeks, especially when we're training every week. But again, we want to include a variety of different exercises. We don't just want to squat, for example. So we include a variety of different exercises, and this should help us achieve our goal. Warming up and cooling down. Again, I would address this separately. One of my images would be a warm-up that's designed using the ramp method, and then also a cooling down program. I can include both of them together as one image. And the last one then is rest and recovery. So how I will address this principle is I might include possibly something got to do with my cool down, something maybe in relation to nutrition, my post-workout meal, maybe a high protein meal that I'm eating directly after my workout. But I'll also design a plan, so a weekly plan showing when I'm performing the different programs that I've designed, and there should be clearly enough space for rest and recovery between each session. So here are the different principles, and again down here I've just examples of how I'm going to apply them to my program. So for example, specificity, when I went and researched the best exercises to increase lower body strength, I got exercises such as back squat, lunges, deadlift, leg extensions, RDLs, and there's loads more. But these are the ones that I'm going to include in my program. Again, I'm going to lift at 87% of my 1 rep max for 5 repetitions, and I found this again from this table. Okay, and again I'm going to reference it in my booklet. And my goal is, so if we look at 87% of 1 rep max, it works out to 78.3 kg. Well, it's not possible for me to lift this because the weights go up in 2.5 kg intervals. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to drop that down to 77.5, and that's going to be my starting weight for 5 reps. And over the course of 6 weeks, I'm going to try and increase this to 85 kg for 5 reps. If I'm able to lift 85 kg for 5 reps, well then I should be able to lift 100 kg for 1 rep. Okay, and that's my goal up here. So my first goal is to improve my 1 rep max in the squat from 90 kg to 100 kg. I aim to do this over a 6-week period, and I will retest every 2 weeks to monitor my progress. Okay, so 90 kg to 100 kg, and if we break that down, I'm going to go from 77.5 kg by 5 reps up to 85 kg by 5 reps over the course of 6 weeks. For reversibility, I'm just going to include the fact that I'm going to train twice a week. If you want to design a second program and do a second program at home, again, that's up to you. Remember, we can include 8 images total for part B. So we have a number of different programs that we can include, but also we can include things like warming up, cooling down program, and also possibly a program like we discussed, that's your weekly schedule. So when you're going to train, just so we're looking at our reversibility principle. Tedium. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to retest every 2 weeks. So I've set that in my goal. So if I don't see an improvement after 2 weeks and again after 4 weeks, well then maybe I will change my exercises. Okay, unless you're an advanced trainer and you've been training quite a bit already, well then that's the only reason why you shouldn't see an improvement after 2 and 4 weeks, and that's the only reason why you might need to make a couple of changes. If you're, I suppose, new enough to training, well then you should see increases in your strength quite quickly. Warming up and cooling down, I've again addressed this. Why am I warming up? Well, again, things that we looked at when we talked in topic 3, we want to increase our blood flow, we want to increase the elasticity of our muscles, so we're getting the stretch shortening cycle, so we're building up that energy in our muscle, and then we're able to reproduce it. And then remember we talked about vasodilation, which basically means that our blood vessels are going to increase in size, which allows more blood flow to the area, which will allow you to lift more weight. Last one then, rest and recovery. Again, I discussed it already. We're going to maybe have a diary of how much sleep I'm getting each night. So that's one example. You might include something like a high protein meal after each workout to help protein synthesis. Again, this is something that you can include in your program to show the examiner that you understand the different principles of training and how you're going to apply them to this program. So this is basically the research that I've carried out, and now I'm ready to go and put together my program. So if we look at the program that I've designed here, so it's a lower body strength program. On the left here you can see the different exercises that we talked about. Again, I didn't just pluck these exercises out of the air. I went and researched it. I looked at what are the best exercises to increase muscular strength specifically to the lower body. And I have a list of exercises here on the left hand side. Okay, up on the top here then I'm addressing a good few of the principles. So here I'm addressing reversibility because I'm going to train twice a week. Here I'm going to look at the training zone that I'm going to be in. So I'm going to be training close to my maximum intensity, 87% of 1 rep max for 5 reps. And this should mean that I'm in my anaerobic training zone, which I need to be in to increase my muscular strength. Here in red and white along this line, you can see my 1 rep maxes. Okay, so before I perform the program, I need to find out what my 1 rep max is for each of these exercises. So here my squat is 90 kg, my lunge 70, my deadlift 110, leg extension 65, and for RDLs my 1 rep max is 80 kg. So what I need to do then when I'm designing the program is I need to look at my 1 rep max, find out 87% of that, and then perform 87% of my 1 rep max for 5 reps. Okay, so down here in the program, exercise on the left, I've included another column here which basically explains the different muscles that are being used for each exercise. The reason why I've included this is because I don't want to use multiple exercises that are glute dominant or quad dominant. I want to try and hit as many different lower body muscles as possible. Okay, with the likes of a squat, a deadlift, a lunge, they are what we call compound exercises, which means they hit lots of different muscles. Okay, and it's really important that we include a number of compound exercises no matter what the program is. Again, I didn't just pluck these muscles out of the sky. I went and looked. So very simply, it takes 2 seconds. So again, I've typed in here, what are the primary muscles used in RDLs? And straight away I can see the muscles are listed out here. Okay, again, I'm going to keep track of where I found this. I'm going to include this website in my references in the booklet. Okay, so down here then we get started. So week 1 and 2, week 3, week 4, week 5 and 6. The reason why I split week 3 and week 4 is because I want to include a deloading week. So remember, we want to include rest and recovery. And if you remember from topic 2, you should work at a ratio of 3:1. So 3 weeks of high intensity followed by 1 week of lower intensity. Okay. The reason why we want to include a week of lower intensity is to allow our body to recover, to allow our body to basically catch up. If we continue to train without taking breaks, well, then your body's going to hit a wall. You're going to end up plateauing. Okay, so in order to address this principle, I've included a deloading week here. Okay, and again, I didn't just pluck these figures out of the sky, so I went and looked it up. So very simply, what percentage of 1 rep max for a deloading week? And I've loads of different websites here. So I'm going to look at this one here, and it says use 50% of the weight that you lift previously for a deloading week. Other websites will say maybe 40 to 50% of your 1 rep max. Again, it doesn't really matter which one you go to. All of them will be similar. Just make sure that you're able to reference it and speak about it when you're addressing it in your program. Okay, so here I have 45 kg by 5, so I'm working at 50% of my 1 rep max. So squat is 90 kg, my 1 rep max. So for my deloading week, I'm going to work at 50% of that, which is 45 kg by 5. Okay, and then you continue that the whole way down for each of the different exercises. The last thing I'm going to speak about here is progressive overload. Okay, so 77.5 kg we said is approximately 87% of my 1 rep max. Okay, so I'm starting with 77.5 kg by 5 for weeks 1 and 2, doing 3 sets as you can see, and then the following week, or in week 3, I'm going to progressively overload this. So you can see that I'm starting this week with 77.5 kg by 5, but then I'm going to move it up to 80 kg by 3, and again another set of 80 kg by 3. Then I have my deloading week, and then in week 4 I'm going to start with 80 kg by 5, 82.5 kg by 3, and 82.5 kg again by 3. And eventually I'm going to hopefully get up to 85 kg by 5 by week 5 or 6. And like I mentioned earlier, if I'm able to lift 85 kg by 5, well then I should be able to lift 100 kg once. Okay. I hope this helps explain how to go about designing a program. Again, this is very, very detailed and it's addressing lots of principles. So if you follow this formula when you're designing your programs and reference it correctly, you should be getting like really, really good marks here.